Good morning, students. This is our lesson for math on Monday. You'll be having a quiz today, so I hope you look that over and complete that. If you have any questions, please send me a message on Teams. We are looking at page 143, 144, 145, and 146, I believe, which is all about adding and subtracting decimals. Our first part of this lesson is about different strategies we can have if we want to use alternative methods, and then just reviewing how to do adding and subtracting with decimals after that. So when we add and subtract with decimals, decimals are sort of odd things that can sometimes be difficult to get a full grasp of. They aren't something that's always concrete. It's a little bit different if you were to say, like, oh, I'm going to do 5 plus 7. And you can imagine, like, okay, I have 5 strawberries, and I'm adding 7 strawberries. How many strawberries do I have together? It's very physical, and you can do it with your fingers and stuff like that. Decimals are a little bit more odd. They're more nuanced. It's a little bit more subtle because we don't always deal with decimals. Now, one of the equivalencies we can make when talking about decimals is comparing them to money. Which makes it a little bit easier for us to get a sense of it because we do use money often, and so we should be a little bit more familiar with it. Now, we have some different strategies we can use when we're dealing with decimals if we want to sort of essentially guess and test our work, and one of that is we draw it out. Now, the way you draw out decimals is you need to first make sure that everyone's on the same page for what the values are. So on here, I have these poorly drawn lines and squares and such, but I tell you exactly which one is. So one full box equals one whole. So like a strawberry, like a whole. Okay. Every line that I have is 1/10, and every dot I have is 100th. Now, if I were to start drawing things out, I can start figuring out the values of it. So right here, I have my first drawing. I have 3 holes, I have 6 lines, and I have 4 dots. If I add those things all together, I will have 3.64 or 3 64 hundredths. Now I can add and start combining values. So this one, I have now a hole and 2 lines and 3 dots plus a hole, a line, and 2 dots. Now, what's the actual value? So I have 1.23, that's this one right here, and I have 1 and 1.12. And I can add those together and I have 2.35 or 2 35 hundredths. So that's one strategy we could use if we wanted to whenever we're dealing with decimals. As long as you're very clear at the very beginning when you start doing this type of work what the value of each symbol is, then you can kind of do this method. And it can completely work. You could realistically do this for all of your math in the next couple of pages. It just takes a long time. So instead of doing all the drawing, we should start getting more and more comfortable with it. And we want to move away from drawing. So this is kind of the next step away from drawing. Okay, so now what I can imagine is I could also do all of my numbers making it have the same denominator. So if you're looking at this number, these two questions, 5 over 10 plus 41 over 100, obviously these don't have the same denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them both have the same denominator. It would make the most sense to have a denominator of 100, but I could do more. I wouldn't get the wrong answer if I do more. But I would do a common denominator of 100. So how do I get from 5 over 10 to something over 100? Well, I can do the rule, which is whatever I do the bottom, I do the top, or top to the bottom. So I have 5 over 10, and I need to do something over 100. How do I get from 10 to 100? I multiply by 10. That means I should multiply by 10, and I have the answer 50. So then I have 50 over 100 plus 41 over 100. I combine those two numbers and I have 91 over 100. If I were to write this out as a decimal, I should have this as my answer. So I'll wait for a second. Maybe you can imagine what the answer should be. It should be 0.91. So that's 91 hundredths. So here again, I have a whole. I have a fraction over 10 and a fraction over 100. I want to have a common denominator. I don't have to change this whole into having a denominator or anything like that. I was thinking that originally, but I don't want to. I don't want to cause myself to do more work because at the end of the day, I'm just going to take out whatever holes I have and put it as its number beside. So like a mixed fraction. So I have my 3. I'm going to leave it as is. I have 6 over 10. I'm going to change that to 60 over 100. I'm going to add 32 over 100, and I'm going to combine it all together, and I have 3 and 92 over 100, or 3 and 92 hundredths. Or as a decimal, I would even write 3.92. Right? So these are all the same values. This and this are the same. Now, what we're actually going to do and what we're going to practice with is just lining up our decimals vertically when we add or subtract. That is the most important rule of all adding and subtracting when you're doing decimals. You must line up the decimal place. Now, we've previously been practicing place values and making sure that we understand what different place values there are, like hundreds or hundredths or thousands or 10,000s or all these different place values. You need to line up the decimal. That is the only rule you must follow. After that, it's just general adding and subtracting. I can do this exact same question right here. I could do it right beside, except not have decimals. And I'm going to come up with the exact same answer just without the decimal spot. So 81 plus 58, I have 9 here. 5 plus 8 is 13. I put my 3 down here. I put my 1 up here. And I have 139. Except this question has a decimal place already valued. So it's actually 81 hundredths plus 58 hundredths. Now, as long as I line up my decimals, I'm still going to get my answer correct because my decimal tells me what the final result is going to be. So 1.39 or 1 and 39 hundredths. Okay, so for this one, I had to do a little regrouping. This one, I didn't have to do regrouping. I just did 32 hundredths plus 54 hundredths. I lined up my decimal, and then I got my answer. Okay. So, now, for anyone that's watching the video, you can save yourself a little bit of work. It's kind of one of the bonuses of watching the videos. For page 145, there are a lot of questions here, and what I'd like you to do is just do every other one. Okay? So what I mean by that is, number 1, do A and C. Number 2, I mean A, C, E, G. And just do every other one. Please don't do every single question. It's going to be a lot of work for you to do that. You should be feeling confident by the end of this. If you have any problems, please do let me know, and I would love to help you. Please also don't forget to do your quiz today. All right, I hope you have an excellent day.